morning. Well, I'm very, very sorry. I am a couple of minutes late because I've been sat here for 10 minutes preparing the class, and as soon as I said go live, it wouldn't work. I don't know why, so I had to log out and log back in again. But hopefully I am now live and you can see me. Always the way, isn't it? You can prepare as much as you like, and as soon as you go live, technology just goes. So this morning, what I'm going to be doing is a class all about balance and hips. So we're going to be working a little bit on our hip strength, a little bit on our flexibility around our hips as well. So I'm Zoe, I'm a physiotherapist and Pilates instructor and founder of Pilates Health Online. So I hope you enjoy the class. I'm going to talk from over there now. We'll dive straight in because I am a couple of minutes late, because as I say, I was having a few little technical issues. So I'll go over there and we'll get started. Before I do though, just to say, if you've got a mat, great, grab your mat, but you won't need it straight away. We're going to start with some stuff in standing. If you've got, I've just left it over there, but if you've got a folded towel or something to support your head, that's great as well. We are going to do a little bit coming to lie down on the mat. Okay, so this is my first time live on YouTube, so fingers crossed it all goes okay, and you can see and hear me. We'll soon find out. Right, I'm going to just make sure that you can see me over in the other side of the room, and we will get started. Fantastic, yes, looks like you can see. So, a few little housekeeping things that I do need to say before we dive straight in with the class. First thing to say is always work at your own level. If you need to stop and rest at any time, absolutely fine, please do. None of the exercises should cause you any pain or any discomfort either. And the last thing to say really is, if you do have any health problems, any medical problems, and you're not sure if Pilates is the right fit for you, always have a chat with your GP or health professional before you get started, just to make sure that it's the right fit for you. Okay, so let's get started. So I want you to make sure you've got a little bit of space around you. And we're going to start off with our feet together. We're going to fan them out into a little V shape, and then we're going to bring the feet out into parallel. And I just want to get you to relax through the toes. So equal weight through both feet, just relaxing through the toes, thinking about coming up a little bit taller through the spine, a little bit of width here through those collarbones, and a little bit of length through the back of the neck. Now, today's class is going to focus a little bit more on the lower body, but we're going to still do a little bit of upper body stuff just to warm up. So let's just start with some nice, gentle shoulder rolls. Let's take a breath in and a breath out. Lovely. Breath in and out. So just think about moving the shoulders and the shoulder blades as much as you feel is comfortable. We never want to force any of the movements. It's nice just to sort of get rid of a little bit of stress and tension around the upper body. So let's do one more. As we come down, I want you to just let your arms relax down by the side. I want you then just to turn to look over one shoulder, come back to the middle, turn to look over the other shoulder, come back to the middle, and then just look down to your toes, get a little stretch through the back of the neck, and then come back up. Let's do that again. So just gently turn to look over one shoulder, back to the middle, other shoulder, back to the middle, and then again just a little look down, and then come back up. Okay, let's just again get rid of any tension before we sort of go into the main sort of focus of the class. So relaxing the arms down by the side, thinking of that lovely sense of length. I want you to take a nice deep breath in through the nose and breathe out. Lovely, nice breath in and out. One more breath in. Think of that sense of length as you breathe in. As you breathe out, keep that length, but just relax through the shoulders. Perfect. Let's bring our hands to our pelvis. So what we want to think about is our neutral spine position. So I want you to imagine that your pelvis is a bit like a bowl of water, and you're going to try and see if you can tilt the pelvis, stick your bottom out a little bit to pour some water out the front, and tuck under a little bit as if you're going to pour a little bit of water out the back. So you're going to breathe out and breathe in. So it's just a gentle rocking of your pelvis. Again, we don't want to force it. I just want you to feel the difference between having your back slightly arched, your back slightly tucked in, And then I want you to come to rest so your pelvis is level. And if you had that bowl of water, it'd be nice and level in the middle. Tailbone is now pointing down to the floor. We're going to lift one heel and we're going to do a little walk out on the spot. So arms can just gently swing by the side. We're just warming up those knees and ankles. Now I've got a clicky ankle which clicks every time I do this. So if you can hear that, I do apologise. But just think about those knees lining up with those hips, and we're just keeping it nice and taut as we're just loosening off. Perfect. Let's go. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Bringing those feet firmly down. I just want you to take the focus now down to your feet. Think about where your big toe is, your little toe, middle of the heel. I want you to ground the feet on the floor, and we're going to try a little sway side to side. If you want to take your feet a little bit wider, you can. We're going to breathe out to go one way, breathe in to change to go the other way. And I want you to imagine you've got something balanced on your head. So we want to keep up nice and tall. We're just transferring the weight one side and then to the other. As if we're just a little flower blowing in the breeze. That's what I always think of, especially coming up to spring. Coming up nice and tall. Okay, so we're going to go this time to the side. We're going to take the weight slightly to the front, to the side of the other foot, back to the heels. If we're doing a little circle. So I want you to imagine that you're sort of circling round. So weight comes to the heels, to the side of the foot, to the toes, and we come around. Body's facing forward, and we're getting the feet to do the work. And it's a nice way just to sort of start working on those balance reactions, keeping that nice sense of length through the spine, just breathing normally. Let's do the same, but let's go the other way. So we're just going to circle in the opposite direction. If you're anything like me, you'll have gone your favourite way first. This way doesn't feel quite so natural. And we're just going to come round. Perfect. Okay, we're just going to do one more circle. We're going to come back and just make sure you've got equal weight on both feet. Now, the next bit will depend on how good your balance is. If you feel tall and steady, I want you to keep your eyes open. But if you felt that was fine and you want to test your balance a little bit, I'm going to get you to close your eyes. But obviously, if you're feeling steady, open them. And we're going to see if we can do that circular movement again. So this time, eyes are closed. So we've lost our visual cues. All the information is coming from our body. So we're just getting that little bit of movement through, trying to keep our balance. Okay, let's change direction, do the same, but go the opposite way. Perfect. It's much trickier with your eyes closed. Keep up nice and tall. Sometimes we tend to sort of bend in the middle or lean a little bit. Perfect. And then from there, just come back to rest. And just before you open your eyes, I want you just to think about coming up nice and tall again. Equal weight through both feet. Just try and keep as still as you can, just for a few seconds. Notice any little adjustments that you might get through the legs. And then take a breath in. And as you breathe out, just open your eyes. Perfect. Now we're going to keep our eyes open from now. Just bring the feet in a little way so you feel your feet are underneath your hips again, hands back on your pelvis, and just drop your shoulders. And what we're going to do is some little heel raises. So we're going to take the weight from the heels, keeping our eyes open, and we're just going to come up onto the balls of the feet, and then we're going to come down. So I want you to imagine something again, balancing on your head. So as you come up, you don't want to sort of bend in the middle, and you don't want to arch back. You want to just come straight up. And then straight down. Really good for our calf strength, good for our balance. Tricky one though. And coming back. So we're going to breathe in as we come up. We're going to breathe out as we come down. Keeping that control, shoulders relaxed. This is our level 1. If you think that feels great, I want to work a little bit harder. I'm going to get you to bring your arms up to shoulder height and have your palms facing down. And as you come up, we're going to bring those arms down by the side. And then we're going to float them back up. Now, sounds daft, but because we're moving our arm, it takes that bit more control through our center. So I want you to just concentrate on keeping that tailbone pointing down and just coming gently up and down and back. And I'm wobbling for England over here. Perfect. Feel those legs working a little bit. We're going to do 2 more. Rest when you need to. And ignore my ankle. Perfect. Okay, we're going to come down. Keep the heels down. Turn your palms to face in. We're just going to open one arm and come back. Open the other arm. Just get a little bit of a rotation into the upper body. Just for a little stretch. Last one. Perfect. Take those arms now up above your head. Little stretch through the body. And then gently come back down. Okay, we're going to take our feet wider now. So again, make sure you've got a little bit of space. And I want you to have their feet sort of turned out slightly into a V shape. Now, you might find when you start this exercise, you want to go a little bit wider. So I'm going to go a little bit wider, but you want to feel nice and comfortable. Body is facing forward, pelvis is facing forward. We're just going to let one knee bend, and then we're going to come back. We're going to let the other knee bend, and then we're going to come back. Now, what I want you to avoid is going too far so that knee goes all the way over the toes, because that's going to feel a bit more uncomfortable on the knees. So if you feel that's happening and it's comfortable to have your feet a bit wider, go a little bit wider. If not, just don't bend the knee quite so much. And what we should feel is maybe a little stretch into that hip. So as we go across, a little bit of a stretch, but it should be nice and comfortable. Breathing out, breathing in. So as I say, today, a little bit of balance work, a little bit of hip strength and stretch. Perfect. Relax through those shoulders. Imagine that you're gliding to the side. So you're gliding and back. Gliding and back. We're just going to do 1 more to each side. This is just warming us up really for our next exercise. So we're going to come back and we're just going to bring those feet back in to about hip distance apart. And what we're going to start to do now is a little bit of strength work on the outside of the hip. So relaxing the shoulders. We're going to keep our hands on our pelvis even for a little bit of feedback. Tailbone pointing down. We're just going to tap one toe to the side, bring that leg back in. Tap the other toe to the side, bring that leg back in. And just watch as you come back that you don't bring your feet too close together. You want that nice gap so that you can transfer the weight across. Tap and back. Lovely. Tap and back. So this is our level 1. If you have any hip problems, you might want to stick to this level if you want to work a little bit harder. Level 2, we do a little lift and come back. A little lift and come back. Now we want to watch that we don't lean over to the side. So we want to keep it nice and tall, and you don't have to lift that foot very high to start to feel it working on the outside of the hip. Shouldn't feel any discomfort through the lower back, and you're using that breath out and breath in. Lovely. We're just going to do a couple more to each side, but stop and rest whenever you need to. It's just a really nice sort of gentle beginners mini class. Let's come back to center. Let's walk that out on the spot again. Fantastic. Okay, let's take it on a little bit further with our balance work. A little bit of movement again into those hips. So we're going to come back to hip distance apart. We're going to have our hands on our pelvis. And I want you to think about tailbone again, pointing towards the floor, up nice and tall through the spine. We're just going to peel up onto the toe of one foot and then bring it down. Peel up onto the toe of the other foot and bring it down. So I'm going to show you that from the side. We're just peeling up and down, keeping that control. We want to think about our ribs, just over our pelvis, keeping this length here. Level 2, we float into what we call our tabletop position and come back. I'm going to do that from the side again so you can see, floating up and back. So this bit, our spine and our tailbone stay pointing towards the floor, and we're just floating that leg up and down. So we're breathing out to lift and into lower. But the bit I want you to focus on as well as your spine is here, because sometimes what happens when we lift is that we hitch our hip. So we want to keep this nice distance here between the ribs and the pelvis. Breathing out, breathing in, relax through those shoulders. Lovely. Keeping that balance. If you want to work a fraction harder, you could hold it there as you take a breath in. Breathe out and lower. Come up, hold it there, see if you can take a breath in, keep your balance. It's better to work at a lower level with good control than a higher level and be really, really wobbly. So if you need to drop down, please do. Again, we don't want to feel this on the lower back. Back to centre and have a little walk out on the spot. I hope everybody is doing okay so far. So we've got one more to do. I don't know where I'm going. One more to do, and then we'll come and have a lie down and carry on our sort of mini session lie down. So the last one is again a little bit more balanced work. So what we're going to do is come into what we call our tandem position. So I want you to imagine that in front of you, you have a tightrope, okay? And what we're going to try and do is bring our feet, I'm going to show you here, onto our tightrope. And what we want to try and do is to keep our balance. Now, if you want to work a bit harder, you could bring your heel to your toe. That makes it a little bit more challenging, okay? And what we want, rather than all of the weight on our back leg, we want a little bit of weight slightly forward as well. So we've evened up that weight a little bit. Again, shouldn't feel uncomfortable on your lower back. If it does, have your feet slightly wider apart instead, and that will be slightly easier. We want to see if we can just keep our balance in that position, keeping up nice and tall. You'll notice those little adjustments. We're not going to close our eyes for this one. It's hard enough. Relax through the shoulders. Perfect. Okay, bring the foot back into parallel. Try and bring the other foot in front. So we can either have that little gap, or you can bring your heel to your toe. Rather than having all the weight on your back leg, just bring a little bit of that weight forward. So you've sort of adjusted, got a little bit more even weight, and you'll feel those little adjustments. If you feel unsteady, have your feet wider apart. Come up nice and tall and just relax through those shoulders. Fantastic. And then come back. Okay, just shake the legs out. And I want you to make sure now you've got a little bit of space where you're not going to trip over anything. And we're going to take that into like a little tightrope walk. And this is a really nice exercise to sort of practice and work on your balance. You can do it when you're waiting for the kettle to boil, but you need to make sure you're not going to trip over anything. So make sure you've got a little space in front of you. Come up nice and tall. Imagine that little glass of water on your head. You've got your rope in front of you. And what we're going to do is try and walk on that imaginary tightrope. Now, heel to toe is harder. Having a little gap between the heel and the toe is slightly easier. So please do what feels comfortable for you. When you've run out of room like I have, just very carefully turn around and go the other way. Now, what you want to try and do, if you can, is look straight ahead rather than looking at your toes. So we're trying to walk in that straight line. Relax through the shoulders. If you feel like you need your arms out to the side a little bit to balance, that's absolutely fine. We're just going to go one more in the other direction. Keeping that nice tall position. Perfect. Harder than it looks. I'm glad I'm not on a proper tightrope. I think I'd have fallen off by now. Lovely. And then just give everything a little bit of a shake out. Fantastic. Okay, so if you've got a mat, have a roll of your mat out. If you've got some cushion, a folded towel, something like that to support your head, grab hold of that. I'm just going to see if there's no messages or anything coming up. I've not done this before. Yeah, I can't see anything, so we're going to keep going. So what we're going to do is come and have a lie down. So before we do that, let's come to the end of our mat. Let's do a nice little stretch of those arms up to the ceiling. We're going to bring those arms down. Just let your knees bend. If you need to hold on to something to come down to the mat, just come down to the mat. We're going to come over onto our side and we're going to start on our back. So just make sure you are nice and comfortable. I always have something under my head because I feel it's more comfortable on my neck, but some people prefer not to have anything. But what you don't want to feel is that your head is dropping back and your chin wants to come up. So if you feel like that, just have something just gently under the chin. Under the head, just testing you with paying attention. Okay, so let's bring those knees up. And we've got our feet about hip distance apart again. So if we were to draw a line from our hips, it would sort of go down to our heels. We've got a nice relaxed position so that upper rib cage is relaxed into the mat, collarbones are nice and wide, arms are relaxing by the side. Now, a nice way just to sort of loosen off and to find that neutral position is your pelvic sort of tilts. So what we're going to do is take a breath in, and as you breathe out, allow your back to gently roll into your mat and your tailbone to come up. and then just gently release off. So all we're feeling is a little bit of a rock of the pelvis, a little bit of a stretch, and then come back. Again, we're not forcing anything. Arms are just gently relaxed by the side. Perfect. It's a really nice way as well to stretch out the lower back a little bit. So as you're doing that, just feel the different positions of your lower back. So feel what it feels like when your back sort of pushes in. Feel what it feels like when your back arches away. And I want you to come to that midpoint where you've got that length and your tailbone points towards the opposite wall, but you're not sort of in either extreme. Let's take a nice deep breath in, let your rib cage just relax and soften. And as I say, just have your arms relaxed by the side. So the first thing we're going to do is a little bit of a stretch for the front of the hip and for the back of the knee. So I want you to keep this nice level position here. And we're just going to breathe out and slide one leg along the mat. Breathe in and come back. Breathe out, slide the other leg. Breathe in and come back. And what we don't want to feel is that movement we felt a minute ago where we were arching and rounding the back. We want to keep that neutral position. So we're breathing out, breathing in. And it just gives the front of the leg a little bit of a stretch. It stretches out the back of the knee. So on the next one, come out, pull the foot up, and then gently come back. So we're going to breathe out, breath in, pull the foot up, and back. So just a couple, just to get used to being on our mat and give the back of the knee a little bit of a stretch. Oh, excuse me. Let's do one more to each side. Last one. And then come back. Okay, we're going to do a really nice one now that works on our deeper core muscles, but also gives the hip a little bit of a stretch. So I'm obsessed with glasses of water, but imagine you've got a tray of drinks just balanced on your tummy. So what you don't want to do is let your pelvis twist because you're going to spill your drinks. You could have your hands on your tummy if you want to get a little bit of feedback, or you could have them by your side. It's whatever's comfortable. But whatever position you're in, just relax through your shoulders. And we're going to breathe out and just let one knee roll out to the side, and then let that knee roll back in. We're going to breathe out, let the other knee roll out to the side, and then roll that knee back in. But imagine this bit needs to stay sort of nice and still. So the movement is coming from that hip joint. We're using those core muscles because that's what's keeping us nice and still here. Now there's a tendency to want to hold your breath, but I want you to think about breathing out, breathing in, and you only go as far as you can control that movement. So what you don't want to do is feel like you're forcing it, or feel like you go a bit further, but you feel like you twist. And this is a nice way to give the hips a little bit of a stretch out as well. I'm all for stretching. Excuse me, ladies, I think I've got a bit of a tickle. I've been doing a bit too much talking. Not like me at all. So we're going to breathe out to come out. Okay, keeping that control. Now, as we're doing these last couple, I want you to think about that length through the spine, because as we come onto our side to work a bit harder, we still want to maintain that lovely length through the lower back. So let's finish the one that we're doing. Come back to the center. Bring one leg into the chest. Have your hand behind your knee. Now, it might be that you want to then swap and do the other one, or it might be that you feel like you can bring both in together. If you can bring both in, just have a little hug. And then come back. Okay, so that was a nice way to move the hips. We want to add a little bit of strength into the hips. So we're going to roll over onto our side. Now, you can fold up your block, or you could have your arm underneath, but you want to make sure that your head feels supported. And I want you to come right over onto your side. So your hips are stacked, one on top of the other, and your shoulders are stacked. So you don't want to feel like you're rolling forward or backwards. Now, when we're on our mat, we've got this lovely length through the spine. We want that same length when we're on our side. So we don't want to feel that we're curling up or that we're arching. We just want that lovely length through the spine. So our tailbone points towards our heels and straight towards that wall. We then want to think, if we relax, we get this sort of dip here. So what we want to do is just bring our hip a little bit away from our ribs, only a tiny fraction, just till you feel like a little bit of air here and a tiny bit of length.
And then just bring your top hand for support. And again, you shouldn't feel uncomfortable on your back. And what we're going to do is work the outside of our leg. So we're going to extend our top leg so that your foot is parallel with your hip joint and parallel with the body. And then we're going to lift the leg, flex the foot, come back down just to parallel with the hip. So we're going to breathe out and breathe in. What we don't want to do is drop the foot right to the floor. Okay, so we're going to breathe out and breathe in. And we want to think of this lovely length all the way down that top side of the body. And again, my ankle strikes again. Breathing out, breathing in. I just like to get a bit of attention, clearly. So underneath leg is staying bent. That's keeping the support. We're on our side. We've got that lovely sense of length, and that tailbone is just staying pointing towards the opposite wall. Lovely. Any point, if you want to rest, just bring the leg down. If you want to do a few more, we're going to do a few more. And where we should be feeling it is sort of on the outside of the hip a little bit. Perfect. We're going to do one last one. We're going to come back into parallel, and then we're going to bring that leg in. Just give it a little bit of a rub. Okay, the next one we're going to do, I'm going to just show you in standing. So if you just rest there for a second, it's just easier to show you. So we're going to be in that bent knee position, and what we're going to do is straighten the leg and then bend the knee. So a bit like what we've just done in standing, but what I want you to watch is that as you bend, you don't feel your back curling round, and as you straighten, you don't feel your back arching. So you're keeping that control. So back in our resting position, hips stacked, shoulders stacked, hands for support. We're going to lift the knee so the knee is parallel to the hip. Again, we don't want to let it drop. We're going to extend that leg out. And then as we bring it back in, our tailbone is going to stay facing that way. So we're going to extend and come back. And we're keeping the same gap between the knees. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but we want to make sure that as we come back, that knee doesn't drop down. So we're going to extend and bend to come back in. But everything else is staying still. Shouldn't feel this on your lower back. If you do, then please stop. But we're extending. And where you should feel it is like the side of your bottom. Keeping that control, breathing out. Breathing in, keep that knee slightly lifted. This one's a bit of a killer. Okay, last one. Come back to parallel and then just lower the leg. And again, give that leg a little bit of a rub. Perfect. So we've worked the side of our hip. I want to work the bigger bottom muscles now, bigger glutes muscles. So we're going to come over onto our front. Now, I've suffered with my back for a long time, so I have something under my tummy just to support my back. So you can have something like a folded towel or something if you feel you need to. If you don't, then that's absolutely fine. We're going to come over onto our front, which just to let you know, that's why I've got that in case you wondered what I was doing. And what that does is it just lengthens the back a little bit. And then you just want something under your forehead to support your head. So your folded towel or something, just to make sure that you don't feel like your head's dropping down or your head's bending up. So we want that lovely sense of length through the back of the neck. Arms are going to come out into a little L shape. Shoulders are nice and relaxed. And then I always say, just have a little wiggle, get nice and comfortable, because what you don't want to feel is like you're tensing in this position. Shoulders away from the ears. And then if you bring your heels so that they're lined up with your sitting bones, so rather than having them sort of out to the side, bring them in. So if we were to draw a line down from your sitting bones, they would hit your heels. And then what we're going to do is we're going to work our bigger glutes muscles. So starting with level 1, I want you to think about length through the lower back, as if someone's got a piece of string on your tailbone, pulling it down towards your heels. So rather than feeling this dipping in, you feel this sense of length. Keeping that sense of length, sorry, I'm losing my head blocks here. Keeping that sense of length, we're going to draw the sitting bones in, squeeze the bottom, and then gently release. And what you'll feel is your heels will just roll in just a little bit, and then release. But I want you to keep this length through the lower back. So as you're doing it, I don't want you to feel your tummy starting to push into the mat. So we're just trying to squeeze the bottom muscles in, and then release. So this is our level 1. And if you've got any back problems, sometimes it's nice to start with this one. because sometimes level 2 you feel on your lower back, and if that's the case, I don't want you to do level 2. But level 2, for those of you who want to have a go, we draw the sitting bone in and we lift and hover one leg just slightly off your mat and then lower back down. Draw the sitting bones in, lift the other leg just slightly off the mat and lower back down. So I'm just going to change my position just because my towel keeps slipping. Breathe out and breathe in. So the key with this is that as we lift the leg, we don't feel the back dip in. You don't want to lift the leg too high. A couple of centimetres just off your mat is more than enough because that's really going to isolate those glutes muscles. Tailbone stays pointing towards the opposite wall. And if you think about the length through the back of your knee, that's going to keep those muscles activated. Sometimes if we bend the knee, we start to use our hamstrings a little bit. So we're just keeping that length. Shouldn't feel this on your lower back. If you are, then please do stop. Draw those sitting bones in, keep that length through the lower back. You should feel it working in your bottom. We're going to give the hips an all-over workout. Lovely. Okay, just one more to each side. And then come back. And then what I want you to do is just let your heels roll out. So we're in this position. And what that should do is just relax those hips and bottom muscles. Just want you to take a few breaths in and out. Lovely. And then just come back into parallel. Bring the arms in and just bring yourself gently back up. Hopefully everyone's doing okay so far. We're going to do our other leg, otherwise we're going to be wonky. So let's go to the other end of our mat. Bring your headlocks or your folded towel or cushion, whatever you're using, over to your other side. And let's do the other leg. So let's come down onto our side. So first things first, let's get comfortable through the neck. So we've got that support. We've got our hips and shoulders stacked. And then we want to think of this lovely length at the front and through the back. So our tailbone points towards the opposite wall. Knees are bent up, heels are lined up with our tailbone, and just get comfortable again on your side. Again, we don't want to sort of get this big dip here. We want to think about this little bit of sense of length here between the ribs and pelvis. You'll get to know I talk rubbish half the time. My brain leaves me halfway through a sentence. Just have your hand in front for support and just relax your shoulders. So we're going to go for those lift and lowers to start with. So we're going to take that leg out. Think of that lovely length all the way through that top half, and then we lift and we lower. So we're starting getting to work on the outside of that leg. And back. Lift and lower. As the foot comes down, it never drops below the height of the hip. We just come back up. And it's tempting to look at your leg, but see if you can sort of look straight ahead, because that gives us that little bit of spatial awareness of where our body is as well. So we're sort of judging how far that leg goes down. Keep this length here. Rest when you need to. And back. Fantastic. Okay, we're going to come back into parallel. Bend the knee in and just give that leg a little bit of a rub. If the leg's feeling tired, have a rest. If you want to work a little bit harder or do a last little bit, we're going to work the outside of the hip a little bit more with those bend and stretch ones. So again, important with this one, we don't feel the pelvis moving and rounding. So stack those hips, stack the shoulders, think of that tailbone pointing towards the wall. We want to keep that position. We're going to lift the leg so that the knee is parallel with the hip. We're then going to straighten that leg out so it stays parallel, and we're going to bring that knee back in so again it doesn't drop. So we breathe out, breathe in. And what we should feel is those core muscles automatically kicking in a little bit. Keeping that length through the waist. And then coming back. Watch that knee doesn't drop as you bring it back in. We want to keep it parallel to the floor. Perfect. You should feel this on the side of the hip. If you've had enough, please do stop. Rest whenever you need to. Let's do one more. Come back, lower down, and give that leg a little bit of a rub. Okay, so what I want to do now is finish off with a few nice stretches and a little bit of mobility. So if you're happy at the end of your mat that you're at, roll onto your back. I always like to be the other end for absolutely no reason at all. So I'm going to go back to the other end. It's completely psychological. So I'm going to come back onto your back. Knees are bent up. Let's get nice and comfortable again. Let's do a few of those little pelvic tilts we did when we first came down onto the mat, just to loosen off. Perfect. Okay, what we're going to do then is just a little stretch for the hip. And I'm going to show you 3 different levels. If you have any hip problems or osteoporosis, I would stick with levels 1 or 2. And you want to, whatever you do, make sure you don't force the movement. So level 1, we just cross one leg over and just let that knee relax. And that might be enough for you to feel a stretch, in which case don't do anything else. If you think can't really feel anything, level 2, we bring the heel a little bit closer to the bottom. So we get a little bit more of a stretch on that leg. If you still can't feel anything, then I would come up to level 3. And we're supporting those legs with our hands and getting the stretch into the bottom. So again, should be nice and comfortable. Really important with any stretches that we never force the movement. I know I sound like a broken record, but it's really important. And down. Okay, same on the other side. So level 1 is here. And it might feel different one side to the other. Level 2 or into level 3. Again, do what feels comfortable, relaxing through the upper body so there's no tension into the back. And then come down. I'm going to get you then to bring your knees and feet together. And I want you to imagine that somebody has super glued them. Okay, so they're stuck together. So wherever they go now, they go together. Arms are going to come off the side just of your mat into a little V shape, and your shoulder blades are just going to gently sink down. Length through the back of the neck, so all the way up through the spine. We're going to take a breath in, and as you breathe out, roll the knees over gently to one side. Take a breath in and then breathe out, roll them back. So I want you to think about your shoulder blades as anchor points to the mat. So as you go across, your shoulder blades stay down. Again, just listen to how your body's feeling. So you don't want to go too far. Feet are stacking one on top of the other. Breath out, breath in when you get there. Breathe out to come back. Lovely. This is a really nice way just to finish off, just to stretch out the spine, relax through those shoulders. And back. Stack the feet if you can. Let's do one more gentle one to each side. And back. And anyone who knows me knows this is my favourite. And back to centre. Okay, bring the feet at distance apart. We're going to bring one leg into the chest. If it's comfortable, bring the other leg in as well, or do one and then the other. And then we're just going to stretch out the front of the hip. So keep hold of one leg, bring the other leg down, and see if you can just gently slide it along your mat without letting your back arch and your ribs pop up. So we're keeping this length here. Just gives the front of the hip a little bit of a stretch. And back in, lower the leg. Bring the other leg up. And if you feel you can, straighten down. If it doesn't feel comfortable, then again, just miss this one out. Come back up. Bring that leg down. This time we're going to lengthen one leg, lengthen the other. Take both arms above our head. Just have a nice stretch all the way along your mat. And then bring those arms down. Come back one leg and then the other. Okay, when you feel ready, just roll onto your side, come up into sitting. I want you just to pause just in sitting, just for a couple of seconds. Just make sure your blood pressure feels okay. Make sure you're feeling all right before you come up into standing. When you feel ready, we'll come up into standing, but just take your time. Lovely. We have nearly finished. What I want to do is just stretch out around the ankle, because again, our strength around our ankle, but also our muscle length around our ankle is important for our balance. So when you feel ready, when you've come back upright, if
you need to hold on, please do. Step forward with one foot and just think about having both feet facing forward and your pelvis facing forward, and just let that front knee bend. Again, we don't want to arch the back, so we've got that sort of slight diagonal lean, but we should feel a nice stretch on our calf at the back. And if you keep that heel down, even if you have to bring the foot in a little bit, you're going to feel that nice even stretch. Bring the feet in. Do the same with the other ones. Put your other one in front. Bend that front knee. Rather than staying too upright, just think of that sort of slight lean, but keeping that length through the spine. Make sure both feet are facing forward. Get that nice stretch on the calf. And again, just notice if you've got any tightness one side to the other, and then come back up. We're going to finish even, we have started, with a little walk out on the spot. Just let those knees gently bend. Just get those arms gently swinging. Perfect, we're nearly there. And then from there, just bring those feet down even. Obviously lunchtime. Let's just spread out the toes, ground those feet on the floor, grow a little bit taller through the spine, a little bit wider through those collarbones. Bring those arms down. We're going to finish with those 3 gentle breaths that we did at the start of the session. So breath in through the nose and out. Keeping that length, breath in and out. Lovely, last one, breath in and out. Fantastic. Well done, everyone. Thank you for joining me. If you're joining me live or if you're joining me on the catch up, I hope you enjoyed that session. Pop a comment below, let me know how you have got on. If there's anything you'd like to see as well, please do let me know. I want to do these sessions that are going to be helpful for you. So always let me know. The other thing is, if you want to get notified when I am going live, when I start doing some live sessions on my YouTube channel, which obviously is where you are now, and also on my Facebook page. If you want to get notified when the next one is, you can sign up to my newsletter, which you'll find the link below this video. You can also click on the notifications button, and it should tell you next time I go live. If you sign up for the newsletter, you get lots of other things that come out as well, all Pilates related. So I hope you have enjoyed that session. Balance is one of those things that we need to sort of keep working on. It's one of those things that we want to test in a safe way, so we feel safe and we feel steady, but we want to challenge ourselves a little bit, because that's the way our body sort of improves our balance. It increases that connections. It sends the messages to the muscles quicker the more we practice. So doing a few of those little balance things are really, really nice way to sort of work on that. So I'm just going to pop back over and just see there's no comments. As I say, this is my first time doing a live YouTube video, so I haven't, I'm getting used to the technology, as hence the reason I was late. I can't see any comments. So thank you so much for joining me. As I say, if you do have any comments, if you are watching on catch up, then please do let me know. Somebody said, thanks Zoe, that was great. Need to keep practicing. We all need to keep practicing. I need to keep practicing. And I think we have days where our balance is better than others. Some days my balance, I'm like, oh, I've cracked it. And then other days I'm all over the place. So don't worry. Just keep doing what you're doing. All right, thank you so much for joining me live. I will be back with another live session soon in the next few weeks. And as I say, if you want to get notified when that is, then you can always sign up to my newsletter. All right, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.